Hey everyone, welcome to the another episode of BTech Insight. So I Akanksha, as usually, I'm so much excited to dive into another topic of cybersecurity and in the world of technology, that is SAML. First thing that I want to tell you, SAML is not anyhow related with HTML. SAML is a technology that we use for SSO. Okay, so SAML stands for Security Assertion Markup Language, and HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So HTML, as you know, we use to create the front end of a website, and SAML we use for creating SSO. Okay, so please don't get confused on this. SAML is not anyhow related with HTML. So before we go with SAML, okay, so I'll give you one scenario. Just listen it very carefully. Okay, so nowadays everyone has log username and password, or everybody has created their account on multiple application. Okay, for example, Google Drive, Gmail account, Google Sheets, or if I say Outlook, Teams, Zoom account, AWS, S3 buckets and all, and Skype, Slack, multiple applications. Over multiple applications, you have created your account. Okay, and to get into it, you need to create a very you need to create a very high password, like a password that may contain 12 characters, including a special character, a numeric value, and an uppercase. Okay, and sometime an application demands for a huge number of huge digit of passwords, like 36 digit or 48 digit, or somehow some application has 56 that may contain very sensitive information that also demands for huge amount of password, huge digit of passwords. Okay, so since you have 15, or I think 16 to 17 different account on these IDs, okay, and you need to remember every single password of every account. For make it very simple, what you guys will do, you will create a single password and make that password to every single account. Okay, which is not very good, and if you are not doing this, then you will write down all these password over a notebook, or store anyhow in your system. But is it possible for you to enter these username and passwords every single time? In a single day, you need to log into your Gmail account 10 times a day. So 10 times a day, you need to enter your username and your passwords. Okay, so if you are going, if you can also think like this, once I have logged in with Gmail account, I don't need to enter the password again and again. It's stored on my system. But again, if you are changing your system, if you are and using another system, you again need to enter the password, huge password. Okay, in how somehow you are using another application like Slack, like Skype, and in any of the application, you again need to enter the password and user ID again and again, which may increase your work and also hype your works too. Okay, so overcome from these problem, SSO has been created. And SSO, what it's do, it is a single sign on, where you only need to do, once you have entered your username, your password, your account details, your information as a user, okay, in a particular period of time. So for a particular period of time, it will work on automation. You don't need to enter the username and password on repetition basis. So for example, once you have entered, you have SSO, you have entered your name, email ID, username, password, you have created a huge number of password. Then with this account, you just only need to create on SSO when you are going to log in on Zoom. You need to log in on Zoom, you just need to create on SSO option. It just given you below of the screen. You need to enter in Slack, you just need to click on SSO and it will authenticate itself. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to enter the username. You don't need to enter the passwords. Okay, so and what makes this possible? SAML, Security Assertion Markup Language. So Security Assertion Markup Language, it stands for again, SAML stands for Security Assertion Markup Language. So what it exactly do? As I told you, it makes this SSO technology possible. What is SSO? As I told you, you don't need to enter your username and password again and on the repetition basis. It will do all the things by itself. You just need to enter login at once. Now, as you can see here, continue with SSO. I'm just show you, wait, just a second. I'll drag it a little down. As you can see, continue with SSO. You just need to click on SSO. First, how it's just given here. So if I'll go in traditional way, you need to enter a specific email. Okay, then it's not showing the option for password, but again, you need to enter the password for a specific account. Okay, otherwise you can log in via your you can just log in via your Gmail account. You can also log in via your Facebook account, Meta account that I can say, or you can also log in via your I account. So now we have a new technology. You can log in via SSO. Another example, this is a Zoom. As you can see, this is Zoom, and you can also see the option of SSO. Either you can enter the email, either you can enter the password, or you can directly log in via Google, Facebook, Apple, or this one, SSO. So what is SSO? How it's like? There are multiple vendors for SSO in market, like Okta, One Login, Azure ID, Google Apps. There are different applications that are available in markets, and what you need to do with the help of these applications, you just need to create your SSO. Okay, so where it actually works in corporate world, people have access to multiple accounts, and every single account requires a huge amount of security, requires a very high security. Okay, as it contains critical information of an employee and company as well. So in corporate world, we use these kind of technology so that it also helps the user to uh, log in. Not they don't need to log in again and again, it will do it at once. So now how SAML works. So this works over three authentication process it has: principal, identity, and uh, service provider. Okay, so who is the principal? Principal is user. You are the principal, you are the user, and as a user you have a specific name, specific email ID, specific phone number, specific fingerprints, specific age, date of birth, a specific, or you can say passwords. Okay, you have. As an identity provider, what identity providers do here? Okay, so as I have showed you, Okta, One Login, Azure, and Google Apps, these are the different identity providers available in market that you can use, that major organization uses for SSO. So what it does, it store all the information with itself and use at the time of authentication. So one time, it is a one time work. What it will do, a user need to enter its detail like email ID, phone number, fingerprints, if they have the option of fingerprint, age, date of birth, on different information that required by every single vendor has different criteria of information, but these are the basic information that required by identity providers. Okay, so what it will do, identity provider take all this information and store it by themselves. Now we have service providers. Who are these service providers? These service providers are your different application where you will use SSO. It can be your Outlook, it can be your Teams, it can be your Zoom, it can be your Slack, Skype, or different application that you uses in your daily routine, daily life. Okay, so we have different service providers. So you can write Skype, Slack, or Outlook. Okay, so I agree with this. I have not very good handwriting. Okay, so these are the three principles that uses at the time for the authentication, and this is the whole process. These are the only three that works in background. So how it works? We have one principal. Okay, we have service provider, and we have one identity provider. Okay. So now what principal will do here? Principal as a user. क्या है ये? It is a user that will request to service provider for login via SSO. Okay. Now service provider don't store the information. It will share it will share the request to identity provider. It will share the request of user to identity provider. Now what identity provider will do? Identity provider will share SAML assertion to service provider. What will we share? SAML assertion. That we'll discuss in just while. Assertion. Okay. So it will share the SAML assertion. Now service provider will get logged in. So this is how the process works. User will share the request to service provider. Request to service provider, step number 1. In step number 2, service provider will share the request to identity provider that this particular user wants to get login. Okay. Now identity provider will fetch their data from database. It identify this is the particular user and please make it login. These are the information. This is the user and password of this particular user. Make him login. Okay. And with the help of SAML assertion, it will get logged in to the service provider, and service provider will get user logged in. And now the user will able to access their Gmail account, their Slack, their Outlook. Okay. What if the user has not created her account in SSO? So this is the scenario number 1, case 1. In case 2, if it is not created, then identity provider will directly prompt user need to create SAML assertion. Okay, it will prompt that user is not registered and it required SAML assertion. Now the question again arises, what is SAML assertion? So SAML assertion is a message that takes identity provider to the service provider. क्या है? What is this? This is a message that works between service provider and identity provider. Identity provider all the information of a user to service provider. SAML contain all the information that is of user. As I said, its name, its phone number, its email ID, its fingerprint, his DOB, in which organization he is or she is working, or any single thing, every single thing is contained on this. Now, it also, including this, it also contain the information when this SSO has been get created, when the SSO will get expired, what is the password of SSO, when it is, when the user need to renew the password. Every single detail is also contain all of the information that contain SAML assertion. So basically, when an identity providers work on the technology that identity provider are using, like Okta or uh, Azure AD or Identity. These are the vendors, or these are the vendor or so identity providers that the technology they all are using is all worked upon these three process: principal, identity provider, and service. Okay, so now in identity provider, what exactly it's working? It share it store all the information, it store all the basic information of particular user and share the detail to the service provider. Okay, so this is for all today. If you have any question in SAML, please do let me know in the comment section. Till then, stay tuned and stay a level ahead.